All right, so today we're going to be talking about disclosing a loan in PRMG. It is TPO Encompass with a little bit of a twist. So most of you guys have seen Encompass before, but there's a little. They add a little bit on the front end to make it easier for us. So pick the loan officer, and then I'm just going to put it in again because we're not set up as processors in PRMG. Not a big deal. And it's going to ask you if the initial loan estimate's issued by the broker or the lender. We're going to choose lender so that they'll disclose the loan for us. And then we're going to import the 3.2 file. Once that's done, hit next. And it should automatically take us to the 1003 in PRMG. Now, there's this button up here on the right-hand side that says register. I'm not going to click that right away because what I'm going to do is verify that everything from the 1003 came over properly and set up the 1003 in PRMG for it to be used. So there's some things that you have to fill in. So for example, decision FICO is 695. For MI coverage, you come over here and select this calculator, and for the MIP funding or guarantee fee, he is a disabled veteran, so we're going to use 0%. That's going to make the loan think. And then you come down here, say regular military, and I'm not going to click this first time use because if it was, even if I did, the funding fee is 0, so it's not going to matter on the 2.3 or the 3.6. And hit done. So now the loan's thinking. Basic entitlement is $36,000 for VA loan code. We'll come down here and select purchase.
So where did you get that $36,000 from?
So that is the normal VA entitlement amount for a purchase, unless they've purchased a home in the past. Looking at his REO here, he doesn't have any REOs, and he's been living rent-free for the last 6 years. So I'm just assuming that he has not used his VA entitlement.
Okay.
For the VA funding fee, this is the big one here. He is exempt. That's going to make the system realize that 0 that I put in over on the MI coverage is correct. It gives it a second to think about it. There. So impound waive, no, not waived because he's not waiving his escrows. So we're going to include that in the mortgage payment. So not waived. Document type is full. Application date's today, and then the closing date on this guy from the contract is June 22nd. So let's come over to June 22nd, select that. Now this top part is all filled in with what we need to fill in. Come down to the bottom here. The one that we need to worry about is estimated value. So we'll put 270,000, and then appraised value will come in. They'll put that in once the appraisal comes in after we order it. I'm still not going to click register. So what I'm going to do now is go to borrow information and make sure that everything came over properly, which it did not. There is no home phone or cell number for him. So I'm going to grab that off of Lending Pad. It just kicked me out, so I'm going to log back into that and go back into his loan. His home phone is 614-581-7163.
I forgot I was muted. I started talking. You didn't hear me. I wonder if that not transferring over the home cell phone is a Lending Pad issue, because I noticed it doesn't do that in other lenders as well.
Yeah, so I think it is based on where we put the information in Lending Pad,
right,
what it comes over. So I always come in and make sure that this phone number is good. For number of dependents, I'm going to put 0 because that's important on a VA loan. And then, so that part is up to date. So now what I'm going to do is go to employer history, make sure that what I put in there is in there. It's all there. He is employed from, a lot of this stuff doesn't come over. So I'm just going to hit save. I don't know why it automatically puts that 1970 in there. I don't know. It just does it. I can't get it out. Then I'm going to come into income and expenses. Make sure that that came over, which it did, and that came over, which it did. Assets and liabilities. So just verify that the that's good. He has 2,000 cash on deposit. So what I'm going to do is put in what his EMD was. This never comes over. It was 1,000. And the closing attorney is Southeastern Title. And hit save. So now that's there. I don't worry about the rest of the stuff down here. Then I go to transaction details. This is the important screen to make sure that the EMD and the seller concession is in there properly. So $1,000 EMD and the seller credit's 5,000. So that's in there properly. So that's going to show up on the LE. And now I can register the loan. So now I'm going to go back to borrower information, hit register. So what that's going to do is it's going to populate everything up here. Loan number, loan amount, loan type. That's all going to be populated now, as you see.
Okay.
So we're good there. And now I'm going to go to products and pricing. So Jason has it as 3625 in lending pad. So that's the rate that I'm going to pick here. So here we got to make sure that all the red asterisk blocks are filled in. So for appraised value, I'm going to put in 270 because that's what the estimated value is. Then I'm going to come down here to DU, approved eligible. It is approved eligible because I ran it before we started this, and I'm going to put in a target price of 3625, and it's lender paid. Now I'm going to hit search product and pricing. And there's a couple of important buttons that we have to hit on this next screen. So I'm going to highlight those, and if you could highlight those in the video to pertain to what's important on this next screen, because if you don't, you won't get accurate pricing.
Gotcha.
So big thing here is make sure it's lender paid compensation. It says yes, that's important. And the no fee option. So you have two selections, yes or no. Choose yes. What that does is it rolls in the underwriting fee into the rate and doesn't show it on the LE as a Section A fee. So we definitely want to choose yes there. And then the last one that you have to select is number of finance properties that close. It's one finance property. And then just make sure that everything else came over. Active duty, he's exempt, and the funding fee is 0. And then hit submit. Now there's about 3 steps that is different in this lender than other TPO Connects after we choose this rate that I want to talk about specifically. You have to pull in credit before you run DU, and you have to run DU before you set up the LE. So you have to do those steps in order, and we'll talk about those. I want to select lock. That's going to take you to another screen. It's going to give you 2 options.
So why are you locking it instead of floating it?
So that's what I was going to talk about here.
Okay.
So you have to click that lock button. Now you can either request a lock or update Encompass. But you have to click that blue lock button. So we're not going to lock it at this time. We're just going to update Encompass. So I'm just going to click update Encompass. So that was a good question. It is confusing. A lot of people don't want to click that blue lock button. So now it's updating Encompass. Another little box is going to pop up once Optimal Blue thinks about it. And click close. And now Encompass is updated with this rate in their system.
Okay.
And now we're updating, and now you see that we do have a product. We have a VA 30-year fixed, which is fantastic. So now you see over here in the corner, I can't order DU or I can't order LP, right? Okay. This confused me at first is why can't I order these? So they make you do a 2-step process where other lenders only make you do a 1-step process. Most lenders just allow you to run DU, which pulls in credit at the same time. Here you have to pull in credit, then you can order DU. So that's a different thing that PRMG is set up as, where other TPO connects are not, or Encompass. So we'll select the credit provider, which is Advantage Credit Incorporated. We're going to reissue the credit. We're going to get his PIN number off of LendingPad. And I always like to type in the password just to make sure that it came over correctly, and then come down here and click reissue credit. Now that we're reissuing credit, the order DU and order LP buttons are going to become available to us once this is pulled in.
Okay.
And that's what is different from PRMG from other Encompass users. So I just wanted to make that very apparent on our video, is that there's a two-step process here to order DU.
And that's odd that it makes you do that. That's just...
Yeah, it seems redundant, but it tripped me up a little bit the first time I disclosed in them,
Right.
but it's what they want, so
right.
it's what we're going to do. So now it says the credit report is available, and now you see that I have the ability to order DU or LP.
Yep.
So now I'm going to click on order DU. Go to type in the password. And you notice that Advantage Credit of Colorado was already there because we already pulled in credit from Advantage Credit. So if we didn't, this wouldn't be available.
Okay.
They'd already pulled in the reference number as well. If you want to, just make sure that it's the same one. It is. And now what I'm going to do is click order DU.
So that product description underneath the reference number, what exactly is that?
I'm not 100% sure, and I always leave it at the default.
Okay, cool.
That might be something to look up and learn, but I don't know what standard LCORE is.
Okay.
So I just leave it as the default of what what was put there.
Gotcha.
So the longest part of disclosing in these lenders is waiting for everything to refresh, right? Waiting for the rate to refresh, waiting for the credit report to refresh, waiting for the DU to refresh.
Right.
You know that it went through if you get this little button that says view findings, and boom, it automatically pulls up the results for us and we're approved eligible. And I'm just making sure that everything makes sense. The housing ratio is 21, total expense ratio is 44, which is exactly what we had in LendingPad. So we know that everything transferred over properly. If those numbers were off after I looked at it, I would go back into the loan and see if some of the liabilities didn't populate properly, or some of the ones in LendingPad that we had paid off didn't come over as paid off. And I would just go verify and make sure everything's correct, and then run DU again to make sure that those numbers are the same. So that is a good way to check yourself, is these two, housing expense ratio and total expense ratio. And Vinny, if you could highlight those as a way to check yourself, that would be fantastic. What I'm going to do now is hit close. And now we're at the point to where we're going to request the LE. So this is another thing that PRMG is slightly different in, is you go in and put all the information into the LE and you make sure it's correct, and then you request them to send it. So to do that, you come down here to the TPO Submission Form. And from what I have gathered, this TPO Submission Form used to be a PDF that you had to fill out, and then they made that PDF fillable on their website, which was one less step that you had to take. So kudos on PRMG here. So what we're going to do is click the TPO Submission Form, and it gives you three options: lender to disclose, and then it says request lender to disclose the loan; broker to disclose, we've already done it, which we haven't; or it's a TBD underwrite, which this one isn't. We have a property address. So we're going to select the top one here, lender to disclose. All right, so now we just have to fill out a bunch of stuff or make sure that it's filled out properly. So submission date is today. The product we're selecting is a VA30, so we'll just go find VA30. VA30 year fixed. This was what the pricing on it was, which automatically got pulled over from when we did the products and pricing. So if you didn't do products and pricing, this wouldn't be here and you would have to go manually calculate it. But if you follow the steps of this disclosure, you have already done your products and pricing, so this number would be there. The seller credit was, I believe it was $5,000, but I'm just going to go make sure that's correct. $5,000. The deposit was $1,000. So make sure that those didn't populate from the transaction. So make sure that those are there. There is no red asterisk. So if we could highlight those as well,
Gotcha.
make sure that those are in there for all the transactions. Estimated closing date is 6/22. So then you have to manually calculate what the first payment date is. So you skip 1 month. So the first payment date would be the 1st of August. The disclosure type, lender disclosed with full underwriting, lender disclosed only, no underwriting, or broker disclosed full underwriting. We're going to select the top one, and that's normally what we're always going to select, lender disclosed with full underwriting. LE prior to approval, it gives you two options, no, send as soon as possible, or yes, send for prior approval. I always like to choose yes, send for prior approval, because that gives me and the LO a second chance to review that LE before it goes out in case I made a mistake on the disclosures.
Okay.
So always select yes, send for prior approval. And then tax transcripts type, all this is saying is this a W-2 transaction or a 1040 transaction? He's W-2, so we're going to select W-2.
Okay.
And then we're going to make sure the rest of this stuff is right. $695, purchase price $270, baseline amount $270. That the income ratio should have came over. It did. Make sure that the address is correct, which we did at the beginning because I verified that the 1003 versus the ratified contract. That's good. And now what we're going to do is select this Prepare LE button. And as you can tell, we missed some stuff. So it tells you, hey, you missed some things. So broker affiliated with escrow company, we're going to select no. And compensation type is lender paid. And our compensation is 2.75. So that was a good thing there. It's going to tell you if you miss something. So
Okay.
now let's go back to Prepare LE. And I always miss something. So luckily it will automatically red flag you if you miss a red asterisk.
Okay.
So now what we're going to do is this is each page of the LE. So we're going to look at it here. So as you can tell, it didn't waive the underwriting fee, but we'll get that taken out of there momentarily. I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
This is what the discount points are for the rate that we selected, $1,700, but it's not locked in. And then what we're going to do is just verify the rest of this stuff. So we noticed in section F, there is no 12 months of homeowners insurance. So we know we have to input that. We know we have to get rid of the underwriting fee.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that the escrows are set up properly. So what we're going to do is come up here to edit inputs. Nope. Wrong button. I always get those two confused. Not a big deal. Fee itemization. So now we can edit, change, do whatever we want to do here. So we want to get rid of this underwriting fee. So I'm going to hit this X, and it says deleting this fee confirms the fee will be built into pricing. We definitely want that to happen. So we're going to delete the fee. So now it's not there. Appraisal fee, we know it's $425. Credit report fee, we're not charging $100. So we're going to go change that to $32.50 and hit save. So now we see that $32.50 is there. I leave all the section C fees the way that they are. And so per the contract, which I have open, I go to section 6 of the contract because this is a South Carolina contract. It says that the seller transaction costs include deed preparation, deed recording costs, deed stamps, taxes, recording costs, calculated base. So we know that the borrower is not paying this. So I'm going to delete that because they're not paying it. And now I want to add a fee here for prepaids of 12 months. So what we're going to do is go into add a fee, go to section F, homeowner's insurance premium, and then we're going to figure out what the homeowner's insurance premium is based on what was on the 1003. So we're going to input that, and that shows 12 months is the number of months that we want there, so we know that that's correct, and we're going to save that fee. We're going to edit this. It has 2 months here. I'm going to change that to 3. Hit the save fee. Go to property tax escrow. Shows 6 months, so I'm going to leave that the same because that's what they automatically calculated. If it comes back differently, you know, I'd rather over disclose than under disclose. So now that's good. I'm going to hit LE preview.
Who is this guy using for title?
This was just a smart fee, but
I gotcha.
Southeastern. So now I'm going to go back to the LE page 2. Now you see that the underwriting fee is not there. The credit report is $32.50. Section F has the homeowner's insurance premium there for 12 months, which is good.
All
And
right.
we have our initial escrows set up. So all that looks good, and I'm going to click the request LE button. So now it's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to request the LE, and then it's going to say, hey, don't forget to submit your loan, which is nice, right?
Yeah.
So I could go submit the loan right at this point, but we don't have all the initial docs, so I can't. But I am going to show you how to do that in this video, just so that if the LOs have all the initial documentation, while you're watching this video, you can do it. So what it's going to do is it's going to think for a while, then it's going to give me an arrow. So now it says, hey, go submit your loan. So what I'm going to do is go to Documents, or what you would do is go to Documents, TPO Initial Submission Package. You would open this up and search for whatever documents you want to upload. And you can upload as many documents as you want at one time. Once you've done that, it would show all of them here, and you'd come to this Submit Loan button. I'm going to go ahead and click it. And it's going to ask me, do I want to submit this? I'm going to hit no, but if you were ready to submit it with all the initial documents, you would hit continue, and then this would change from not submitted to submitted.
Okay.
But we don't have all the initial docs, so I can't, so I'm going to hit cancel. I'm not ready to submit that loan. But that is disclosing a loan in PRMG. So now the next steps for me or any LO is get out the title request, get out the HOI requests, and then finish setting up that.